Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One-Stop Co-op Shop, where I look at games I reviewed about half a year ago and let you know whether they're still in my collection. Today we're looking at games from July of last year, and no crowdfunding corner this time because this is one of those rare months where I didn't preview any crowdfunding games. But let's jump right in and see which of these games have shelf life.
So our first matchup is R.O.V.E, R-O.V.E versus So You've Been Eaten. And first let's talk about R.O.V.E. This was one of my top games from last year. I just love this one. This is a very, very quick to play, button-shy game, so very inexpensive to get. And there's basically an action optimization, kind of like pattern creation game. So it reminds me a lot of another favorite game of mine, Bullet. You're trying to complete these patterns for these missions with very limited action points, but also set up patterns to trigger bonus card actions in your hands. It's just genius, and even without any of the expansions, I think it's super replayable and very, very fun. If you like puzzly gameplay, beautiful artwork, and just really good, thoughtful challenges, this one might be a big one for you, but definitely a big keeper for me. R.O.V.E is not going anywhere. And it's versus So You've Been Eaten, which is a competitive game with two very asymmetric sides. You can also play either of the sides solo. And yeah, this one is still pretty fun. It's not like one I don't recommend, but the more I played it, the more it felt kind of like the lines of play and the strategy were kind of obvious and samey each time, which is interesting comparing it to R.O.V.E because R.O.V.E also has like clearly the exact same gameplay each time, but I find that consistently like interesting and strategically engaging, whereas So You've Been Eaten kind of felt like I was going through the motions sometimes, and like the solo balance is not always like what I would love, and it can be a little bit swingy. So still a fun game and definitely like has some great play modes, pretty good value, I think. Well, actually, I don't know how much it costs. If it's kind of cheap, then pretty good value for what you get with, two different solo modes and a competitive mode. But yeah, this one's okay, but it was not a keeper for me. So R.O.V.E is the winner of our first matchup. And next up is Oathsworn versus Stars of Akarios, two giant campaign games from last year. There were so many of them. And yeah, first is Oathsworn. This is a 1 to 4 player, a huge, very expensive, just to be clear, cooperative big campaign game with a great story. And yeah, I mean, this was my #1 game of last year. So of course this is a keeper. I love this game. I think the tactical choices are great. I love the system where you can have some characters be full characters and some of them be sort of like helper characters that don't take as much management. I think the story is incredibly well written. I don't love everything. I think the leveling up can be a little bit dull. And sometimes the way you kind of approach damaging the bosses can get a little bit samey. But besides that, absolutely, this is a big keeper for me. I love this game. I want to play it again. It's been sitting at Peter's house waiting for us to start another campaign over there. So I can't wait to get this to the table again. And then we get to Stars of Akarios, which is also a 1 to 4 player big solo cooperative super long campaign game. This one is pretty fun, and I definitely have to say the ship combat was the highlight for me. I really enjoyed that. Kind of took like some Gloomhaven inspired mechanics and added their very own like kind of ship-based thing going on. And sometimes the planet exploration is fun too. And this one though, we didn't enjoy as much as Oathsworn for sure. It did feel a bit too ambitious for the company's first game. I mean, I played through almost the entire campaign, so I definitely still like got, the content as much as I needed to see of it. But it's not one that I like want to play through again. And there are some weaker bits and some less polished bits and some like repetitive bits that make it not as strong of a recommendation. So Oathsworn wins over Stars of Akarios. And then finally we get to Hour of Need versus Root. So Hour of Need first. This is a 1 to 4 player solo cooperative hero game, part of the MDS system that Street Masters and Brook City and Ultra Quest were all part of. From Blacklist, which Blacklist has been having some issues delivering our game that we designed with Mega Man and lots of other games that still aren't getting delivered. But Hour of Need, putting all that aside, I thought it was okay. I still stand by my review that it's like the most streamlined and probably the cleanest design of the MDS. I still think Street Masters is probably the best for like actual excitement of play. But the tough thing for this one is that I love Sentinels of the Multiverse, for example. And I feel like the board play is not that interesting here, but it does like make the game take up more space. And sort of having the board play, I feel like makes like the actual card play kind of less interesting. So yeah, I would pick Sentinels to play 99 times out of 100 over this one. So it didn't really have a place in my collection, so this was a call. Whereas Root remains one of my favorite games. I will say I've kind of moved away from playing it solo as much though, and I'm enjoying it more for competitive play. And I did actually pick up all of the expansions for the, what are they called? Marauders, I think, which give you lots of options to make 2-player play more interesting. So I'm really excited to like teach this one to my son at some point because he tends to enjoy like faction-based games like I do and likes to explore different factions. And once I do that, I think this one could remain a keeper, even if I don't really play it solo much anymore. Because again, I don't know. At this point, I do find the solo bots and like sort of the weird interactions and the fact that they keep on like updating the rules or not updating the rules, depending on like which source you look at, like a little bit frustrating. But Root's still a fabulous game. Just, not sure I would recommend it purely for solo to as many people anymore. But Root is the winner over Hour of Need.
So a pretty solid month overall, especially without crowdfunding. 3 games kept out of 6, not bad. Now let's see how you all voted in the contest and who is our big winner for the month.
So let's see how everybody did with Group 1. 82% of our voters successfully guessed R.O.V.E. I guess you know that I like that one a lot. Only 18% went with So You've Been Eaten. And how about Group 2? Well, this one was a monstrous blowout. Oathsworn, 96% of you knew that I would go for that one. I feel sorry for the 4% that went for Stars of Akarios. Sorry, everybody. And finally, Group 3, the Root crowd was 75%. So the majority got these right in every case. And only 25% went with Hour of Need. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that with the new system where I tell you how many I kept, it's been a little bit easier. So we got, I don't even know how many, like 50 or 60 people got it right this time. Names in yellow are our Patreon supporters, so they get to double entries. And the names in red at the bottom chose not to be in the contest, but Mel, Jack, and Hannah. Nice job guessing this time. So I'm going to roll a d20 and a d6 and just ignore things over 5 or over 15, and we'll see how it goes. So first the D6 is a 1, and then the D20 is an 11. So 1, 11, Brendan Hogan, you are our winner for this month. Congratulations, Brendan. But thanks to everybody who guessed correctly. Thanks to everybody who entered the contest. And don't forget, if you want to be in March's contest, the link is in the video description right now. Check it out. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.